Jeff. Hey guys, I'm Jeff. Back in the room today. We're gonna play Fortnite Battle Royale once again. Yeah, I changed the graphics. I put color all the way up and brightness all the way up. Look at the graphics. Look at these graphics, delicious.
taking that value elsewhere. Number 7, Ricochet. Ricochet is simply the personification of the modern wrestler. He's attractive, toned, and outlandishly athletic. The thing is, if you were to look at all of the wrestlers of his type in the world, he'd likely be in the top 2 for most people. And it's with that WWE know they have a legitimate game changer on their hands. The industry has evolved. No longer are slow, methodical, lumbering big man matches enough to entice crowds and make people part with their cash. Instead, guys like Ricochet have wowed audiences all over the globe with a new, more choreographed, but also more physically impressive style, leading even The Rock to tag him as a future WWE champion. And if that isn't enough of a reason to be on our list, then what else do you want? The fact is that Ricochet has already headlined televised events for Lucha Underground in the US as Prince Puma, making him a legitimate main event television wrestler already, and while his work in Japan with Will Ospreay was controversial to say the least, there's no doubt that it injected something new and fresh into the wrestling landscape. Just as the likes of Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero did in the 90s, Ricochet and Ospreay opened eyes to a new style on the indies. A style that Ricochet can now forge as his own moving forward within the WWE system to hopefully one day similar accolades to his heroes. Number 6, Johnny Gargano. Little Johnny Gargano sure has a way of getting you to root for him. And ever since his debut in NXT, it seems like he's scratched and clawed his way past every benchmark he possibly could to be where he is today. A 5-star match machine and the most universally beloved WWE wrestler since Daniel Bryan's initial rise to prominence. As is the case with many on this list, Gargano's size may be an issue with the office at the top, but with his current role being the ultimate underdog, there seems to be no reason as to why Johnny Wrestling can't become Johnny Sports Entertainment. Just imagine him debuting opposite Brock Lesnar as a surprise opponent, or answering a call-out from a red-hot AJ Styles. As is the case with a few other entries to this list, Gargano is the sort of performer who can get a good match out of people who work in different styles to himself, and it's this ability and his unparalleled ability to make us care for him that make him an undeniable prospect in the WWE in the years to come. Number 5, Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is relatively new to the wrestling limelight, especially in comparison to most of the other names on this list, but the potential for her to reach the highest of heights within WWE seems ever more likely as the weeks and months pass by, not least because of her freakish athleticism. Showcasing a set of finishing moves that includes an effortless 450 splash, the likes of which the women's division has never seen hit with such elegance, Belair has already shown that there may only be a few roster members who can even touch her athleticism. What seems most promising for this particular talent is the potential for this athleticism and her current gimmick of whipping opponents with her tied-together hair to cover for her developing talent regarding in-ring psychology. If the match at any point seems off, draw me with the hair. It's simple. What's most interesting is the likelihood that such a simple magnet would actually be more effective in front of a larger audience filled with more casual fans, making her one of the more reasonable choices for an early caller of all of NXT's less experienced names. While on the road, she could develop psychology and other elements from her character, but get through the early days off the back of whipping opponents and then hitting them with a 450, making longevity a real possibility as well as success. Number 4, Aleister Black. Of all the NXT talents on this list, none can be considered to have more legitimacy as an ass kicker than Aleister Black. The current NXT champion simply exudes a charisma that is entirely watchable while remaining just a little bit scary. His entrance is fantastic and his finish is awesome, but everything that comes in between is well and truly enlisted with the mythos around the character too. So while he doesn't speak much, he doesn't have to. In fact, the only reason we can foresee Black somehow not making it to the top is if WWE tried to make him a comedy character, or there's some sort of unfortunate incident where he eats a live animal or actually kicks a man's head off their shoulders. He's gonna be fine. Number 3, Adam Cole, baby. If there is anyone on the NXT roster who currently seems like Triple H's pet project, it's Adam Cole. The leader of the Undisputed Era was given the opportunity to be NXT's first ever North American champion off the back of a few main event feuds, including one against now NXT champion Aleister Black, and has been described by Mr. Stephanie McMahon himself, that's Triple H, as being like an information sponge. So the office is certainly behind him. The former Ring of Honor World Champion and Bullet Club member importantly has a unique and technically excellent in-ring style, as well as a great promo. But most of all, he is a poster boy with a sort of pretty face that just about everybody that way inclined can find attractive. He's just a cheap line would perhaps be his only hindrance, but when you look that pretty and wrestle that well, does it really matter? Number 2, EC3. If you have to build a sports entertainer from the ground up, Randy Orton. If you had to build a 1980s throwback wrestler from the ground up, it would be EC3. He's got the tan, the muscles laid on top of muscles, the facial expressions, the pompous attitude, and the ability to make you hate him when nearly smirking. The 1% gimmick doesn't harm either. The thing is, EC3 is pretty much a top-tier talent already, having been a leading figure in Impact for several years as an undefeated newcomer and then world champion. And he's worked in the WWE system before as Derek Bateman, so he's certainly familiar with how the system works. It's less that EC3 has the potential to break out, and more a question of why is he in NXT in the first place? Surely if Bobby Lashley could head straight to the main roster, then EC3 could too. The top 1% has already had headline matches with the likes of Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe, and while he's early into his second run with the WWE, it doesn't seem possible that his persona will be something that Triple H can hide from Vince for much longer. Number 1, Velveteen Dream. Remember that existential crisis you had when we told you how old Pete Dunne was? Well, ready yourself because Velveteen Dream is 22. Jesus Christ, he's 22 and already better than I can even be on WWE 2K18. That means he potentially has 20 plus years left in the industry. Wow. The Velveteen Dream's athleticism is simply breathtaking, and his lack of fear regarding spots and bumps must be born from the blissful ignorance that comes with his youth, because otherwise he's a madman. Did you see that elbow drop? Most interestingly, he managed to infiltrate the upper mid-card of NXT after just several months on television and only several years in the performance center. If he continues to progress as quickly as he has done, all of Velveteen's dreams will come true sooner than later. He's a gold mine waiting to be mined, and the WWE simply won't let that opportunity pass. Critics would argue that he would have to undergo a gimmick change at some point to legitimize him in the main event picture of the main roster, especially opposite legitimate monsters like Brock Lesnar, if he's still around. But when he's found a personality so fundamentally different and interesting in his own right, what's the point? Let him run with it all the way to the promised land. If written as brilliantly as he has been in NXT, we'll follow him all the way. So that's our list. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and you can follow me on Twitter here. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.
Outside forecast. Today we work with a beautiful blue sky in the day camp. After some tasty cinnamon rolls, we passed back to say goodbye. Everyone was really excited to be moving, getting to see new terrain, crystal clear skies, and 130-pound loads made for sweltering conditions. But as soon as we hit 7,000 feet, the AC turned on and the wind picked up. There was a nice change in temperature. We arrived at 7-7 to build camp. The night was finished off with Indian food. Everyone sends their regards, spirits are high, and we are looking forward to moving on. Alright everybody, this is Tom James checking in with Altitude 5. We are now cold, however. Steve Steve got the lead. It was a good day. We left our camp there at base about 7,400 feet, and headed up the mountain, carrying our equipment away to a past spot. It's about 9,000 feet. They descended back down the mountain. Well, now there's a cow hole, dinner, and travel. Yes, it's just just a delicious rally baked by his mom. No one will say thank you to his mom, but those rallies are delicious. Nice, Deborah. Thanks for following along, guys. Everyone's always good. Beautiful weather here today on the way over. We'll check back in tomorrow for a little higher on the mountain. I'm waiting for the coaching, checking in for out 5. That one. They were a good day, a long, hard day, and they will be really well. We passed all of our things on past 1. And then we moved all of our stuff and ourselves up to 11,000 foot. We hiked and climbed through bad weather, bad snowstorms, and broke through the glorious weather here up to 11,000. Still right now, had dinner at about 10 minutes ago, and ready for tomorrow, shortly. We'll get back down to where we parked our equipment at around 10,000 feet, and then I'll bring it back up to us at 11,000 feet, and then we'll slowly here, and move higher up on the mountain. Hi, everybody, this is Tom checking in for pt.25 gasoline. Today was a very nice day, a great day, and a big day. All ready to stop gasoline. We had a nice rest day after our backcarry. And it wasn't just a rest day, but it was a rest day for our bodies, because our bodies were time carried our last day to carry us high on the mountain and the time of doing tomorrow. Past top of the Bitcoin, doing a climb up the head wall on the west edge of tomorrow, which is a really spectacular view from up there. Everybody's doing well, very, very happy, and they are climbing along. We want to send our love and support. Everybody back home. Thanks for following along in our podcast. I'll check back in again tomorrow. Hi, again, this is Tom Jacob, checking in for gasoline today on pt.25. It was a good day, good night today. Talked about stuff that we up the mountain, up the hill, a lot of money. Yesterday was a big day for us. We moved from 14,000 foot count of the head wall, a big climb, and then ascended the west edge of the ridge all the way to 17,000 foot count. It took around 8 hours to get here. We're now resting at our high camp on the mountain, preparing for our summit day tomorrow. Everyone is doing well, and no doubt we will reach the summit tomorrow.
Muscles and tendons are always turning in WWE's creative and marketing arms. The company produces more than just hours of first-run television per week. They also have merchandise to conceive, creative ideas to flesh out, promotions to kick off, charities to work alongside, and occasional PR fires to stomp out. When one considers WWE's total output, it's absolutely staggering just how telescopic their reach truly is. Over the years, we've seen WWE's most ambitious conceptions come to life. Some satisfying, others ridiculous, and a few that walk the fine line in between. But there have been times where we, the WWE viewers and consumers, have been deprived of some rather interesting ideas. The following is a list of concepts and products that were either under heavy consideration or were deep in the developing phase before the bubble burst. Some will make you go, damn, look what we missed out on, and others will leave you breathing a heavy sigh of relief. Or, they'll make you go, damn, look what we could have made fun of. I'm Adam Pagiti from Cultaholic.com, and these are 10 WWE concepts that never happened. Join us. Number 10, Raw is classy. When Monday Night Raw was first conceived late in 1992, it was decided that the show needed to be radically different than the product WWE had been dishing out up to that point. It was also decided to stage the weekly show in one static location, which ended up being the Manhattan Center in New York City. The location was notable for the uninhibited, highly vocal crowds that served as a predecessor for the blue-collar ECW Arena Rowdies, and later on the night after WrestleMania hooligans. With that audience in mind, it's hard to imagine Vince McMahon's earlier vision coming to fruition. As Bruce Pritchard revealed earlier this year, since the Manhattan Center houses several ballrooms, McMahon had the idea to make Raw into a high-class dinner theater. The crowd would consist of impeccably dressed patrons sitting at tables being served a three-course meal while the action took place. Certainly, that would have been much different than the WWE fare of the time, or any time really, though that idea thankfully was never put into place. It's hard to picture tuxedo debonaires forking back the filet mignon while Repo Man works over Friar Ferguson with a series of rest holds. Thank God that didn't happen. Number 9, Donnie Brooke. That unused blueprint for Raw wasn't WWE's only mid-attempt at ham-fisted theatricality. During the New York Generation years, WWE filmed a pilot of sorts for a show that would harken back to the innocent irreverence of the mid-80s Tuesday Night Titans. The show was to be called Donnie Brooke Theater, and would feature the sort of over-the-top goofiness that WWE gainfully mined back in the days of Hulkamania. This time, however, the joke was on anybody who watched that pilot, which never aired until WWE's 24/7 service streamed it in around 2009 or so. In it, host Todd Pettingill, a walking kiss of death with the most punchable teeth that a person could have, spoke with faux elegant diction as Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji played a card game in the Old West. An agitated Lord Alfred Hayes, nearing the end of his WWE run, would introduce each act. Raw Hayes was the lone link between the old TNT series and this Technicolor abomination, which was only otherwise notable for Howard Finkel getting beaten up while dressed as Hulk Hogan, because, you know, Hulk had recently defected to WCW. Number 8, one more Saturday night? It's no secret that WWE was in a world of hurt come 1995. Business was mightily down, crowds had shriveled, and the pomp and glamour of the days of Hulkamania was nowhere to be found. However, one of those old footholds seemed to be returning to WWE's palate, Saturday night's main event. In May 1995, WWE had agreed to a deal with NBC to air the two big matches from WrestleMania 11, Diesel vs. Shawn Michaels and Lawrence Taylor vs. Bam Bam Bigelow, as a network special. This, McMahon hoped, would have been the gatebreaker to getting Saturday night's main event back onto the network, where an ailing WWE could once again have a mainstream platform. The deal, however, was quickly nixed for reasons not entirely clear, depriving WWE of a potentially lucrative opportunity. Months later, the Fox network took on the WrestleMania special, airing it in a late-night Saturday slot. Despite favorable ratings, Fox turned down McMahon's request for more specials in the Saturday night main event vein. It wouldn't be until 2006 that WWE managed to revive the show on NBC. Number 7, Rumbling for Free. You hear Michael Cole and his ilk praying all the time in their WWE Network pitches. So-and-so event is free for new subscribers. Even supercards like WrestleMania and SummerSlam have been served up at no cost as part of the subscriber accumulation drive. And the results are evident today as WWE sits above the 2 million sub plateau. Journey back 2 decades ago, and WWE actually attempted something similar. Whilst losing the Monday Night Wars to WCW on a weekly basis, the company announced that the February 3rd, 1997 edition of Raw would be dubbed Royal Rumble Raw. At USA Network's behest, WWE agreed to air the 1997 Rumble match in its entirety on free TV, reasoning that the USA broadcast 1988 match did a colossal rating. Unfortunately, WWE had to back away from the idea after pay-per-view companies complained that it could prevent viewers from purchasing replay airings. Thus, WWE only ran a few clips of the match itself on the Raw impression. Number 6, a real Texas deathmatch. After Cactus Jack made his first WWE appearance in the fall of 1997, the door was open to the most violent face of Cody to rear his toothless win once more. Ultimately, Cactus returned at year's end, partnered up with Terry Funk, who was now disguised under a pantyhose mask as Chainsaw Charlie. The original idea for bringing Funk into WWE at that point did involve Blood Friend Foley and was much more violent than a gimmick chainsaw could ever be. The plans were for WWE to go deep into the deathmatch realm. Foley claims that he proposed a best-of-7 deathmatch series against Funk, with whom he had worked with in the finals of the famed IWA King of the Deathmatch tournament 2 years earlier. Tied 3 apiece, Foley and Funk would tape the finals at Funk's Double Cross Ranch in Amarillo, Texas. And all of this would air during the WrestleMania 14 broadcast. McMahon was on board with the idea, but ultimately shelved the plans once Mike Tyson came into the fold. McMahon's logic was that with so many mainstream media outlets eyeing WWE, it may not have been the best time to have two men blowing each other up with dynamite. Instead, the two hardcore icons teamed up against the new age outlaws. Number 5, women fight on Thursday nights. Wrestling found itself in a new golden age in 1999 as the medium took off as a fad, resulting in record TV ratings on a week-to-week basis. The biggest beneficiary of the wrestling boom was WWE, who leveraged their swelling popularity into a second 2-hour weekly show. Yes, SmackDown was born in 1999, acting as a Thursday night sister product to the established Raw flagship. While SmackDown's aesthetic was basically a blue-tinted Raw with piped-in crowd cheers, there were earlier plans to make it something entirely different. One of the talked-out ideas for SmackDown was to make a show exclusively for the women of WWE. At that point, the likes of Chyna, Deborah, Sable, prior to walking out of the company, and others were a big part of WWE's total package. And at this point, sexual overtones became an expected part of the product. And the line of thinking may have been that, while sex sells, there may not be enough substance to fill a weekly 2-hour show. Thus, SmackDown became blatantly Diet Raw. Number 4, not all dreams come true. Chris Jericho found himself in a bit of a bind come early 2005. The WrestleMania 21 card was taking shape, and he wasn't fixing to play a major part. Jericho expressed his lament with veteran writer Brian Ruert, who responded with an idea that he'd been keeping warm. Since Jericho, among other stars such as Edge and Kane, were without concrete WrestleMania plans, Ruert decided to shatter the emergency glass behind which his idea lay. What we ended up getting was the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match, where the winner, as we know, received a contract that could be cashed in for a World Championship match at any time within a year. That wasn't the original idea. What Ruert did come up with was something similar, but altogether different. A Hollywood dream ladder match, in which the winner would receive anything they so wished for. Ruert's initial plan for the match was for Rob Van Dam, prior to his early 2005 injury, to win it, and have his dream of the return of ECW fulfilled. McMahon, however, thought that this price was ridiculous, so they brainstormed some more until the title match 5 was conceived. Pity, really, because it would have been fun to see CM Punk win a later Hollywood Dream ladder match and then request a clean win over Triple H. Number 3, we all scream for ice cream. Those of you out there who never got to enjoy the sensation of sinking your teeth into a WWF ice cream bar, well, pity for you. The most preeminent wrestling-related snack in history was the 3-layered dose of heaven that fused a cakey shortbread cookie onto a slab of vanilla ice cream bottomed by a sheet of rich chocolate. I'm salivating just thinking about it. Imprinted with a chocolatized rendering of a WWE star upon said cookie, the bars were a treat for fans in the late 80s and early 90s, as well as a brief Attitude Era revival near the turn of the millennium. In 2011, it seemed like a slam dunk that we would be in ice cream nirvana once more when rabble-rousing CM Punk demanded their return as part of a series of Unchained tirades. Fans agreed, and they bullishly petitioned the bar's previous maker Good Humor to bring back the product. Though the demand seemed to be there, Good Humor, for reasons unclear, announced that they would not bring back the bars. It's things like that that earn you a spot on Chris Jericho's list, Good Humor. Number 2, Brawl for None. Some WWE video games go outside the traditional mode of simulating the wrestling that the company broadcasts weekly. Ambitious titles like WWE All-Stars, WrestleMania the arcade game, and In Your House brought WWE action into the realm of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, while the oft-forgotten Betrayal was a side-scroller that was essentially a homeless man's Double Dragon. And don't even get me started on Crush Hour. There was one WWE video game that never saw the light of day, and it's a shame because it would have probably blown the aforementioned titles out of the water. Beginning close to a decade ago, work began on WWE Brawl, a high-concept fighting game loaded with company stars past and present. A quick Google search revealed some very crisp-looking character sprites, with the hero and villain natures of each grappler amplified to a comic book-like degree. Unfortunately, financial issues with the studio are blamed for dooming the project. However, some have noticed the noticeable similarities between Brawl and and WWE Immortals, so parts of the concept at least lived onward. No.
Here guys, Jonathan here, and today I'm showing off what is my favorite gadget of 2018 so far. I realize there's plenty of time left in the year, but there's been nothing that's given me this much fun at all this year. It's actually what is being used to record this video right now, the DJI Ronin S. Now also quick shout out if anyone wants a chance to win a brand new LG G7 Thin Q, make sure to check out my Instagram, got a chance to win your very own.
So all that footage was captured on the Ronin S and Sony A7 III, and if you come out behind the scenes on the Elon Musk MKBHD interview, everything there was also captured using this setup. The Ronin S is a motorized 3-axis gimbal meant to stabilize DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, so again, in my case, I have it set up with the Sony A7 III, but it'll take a payload up to 8 pounds. So in this case, Mr. Brandon Havard has a 1DX balance, which is a pretty heavy setup. Next, I am by no means an expert, but here's some tips that I found helpful when balancing the camera.
So the number one tip I can give you is make sure this bottom plate is properly tight. You don't want this loose and falling around because that will 100% screw you up. First step is to make sure this is unlocked right here. We're going to slide that in. And the way I've kind of done it is the first step is I will balance it this way. So I'm going to hold this with my hand and kind of just use that to kind of feel out the balance. Once I get somewhat close, I'll kind of lock it and then see how that goes. So that's good from there. The next thing I want to do is see how it balances pointing up. So looking at that, it's a little bottom heavy. So what I'm going to do is give it just like a little slight adjustment, and that's really the key here. It's just like the game of like minute adjustments. I'm going to lock this back up, see how that works, and see now we're top heavy, so give it just like a little bit of adjustment. That's pretty good. I'm going to go back to the front and back. That's solid, and the next thing I'm going to check is the side to side. So we're definitely leaning to the left, so the way I'm going to compensate is here, unlock, and if it's going this way, this is the way we want to go. You got to have a lot of patience for this. Like any little small thing will throw you off, and now I'm going to the right. So that seems good. That's not bad. So again, the goal here is to get it as balanced as possible with the motors off. That way, when the motors are on, they're going to do minimal work, and that's really the way you want to go. Now, for a lighter setup like this, or if you're using a Zeiss Batis, I would say this part here, for the most part, is going to be all the way down. And then from there, now we can power on the motor, and things should be good to go. Now, there's a Ronin app that you're going to want to download to your phone. This is going to help make sure we balanced everything correctly. There's a built-in balance test, which is really helpful. And that way, if you happen to be off on your tilt, your roll, or anything else, it's going to let you know. So head over to Configuration, Settings, More, Balance Test, and then it's going to kind of auto do its thing and make sure everything is uniform and working perfectly. So here we can see tilt excellent, roll excellent, pan excellent. So if you were off, it would let you know. Next from there, the next thing I want to do is head over to motion parameters, select auto tune, and that's just kind of my rule of thumb for every time I balance this with a new setup. If you're going for like the same setup again, I wouldn't do this too much, but just showing you what works for me. So we're locked and loaded, ready to go. One of my favorite moves with this is the parallax, where you try to focus on the object in the center of the frame. You can take it a step further and kind of go for that 360 vibes, which I'm going to show you now. So Rich is our lovely demo. I got him locked in the center. And you really want to be like light on your feet. I got a pull, so I'm going to try to stay around that. And again, I'm just trying to get better with this, but it's good practice. Just pick an object, keep it in the center of the frame, be light on your feet, and you're good to go. Now, quick tip with this, if you ever want to get back to the center point or you're starting 0 point, just double tap this, it's going to bring you there. If you want to do straight moves, not kind of go for that parallax move, hold it while you're walking into the subject or away. So, again, I'm going to demo Rich, walk back here. Find where he's at. I'm going to hold it, lock it, and then I'm just going to walk in there. So I got Rich locked and loaded. I'm going to walk back. Tree. Walk forward. And yeah, that is so much fun. This wide angle lens is like kind of crazy on here. Now this is 4K 24 frames per second, but if you were rocking slow-mo, that's like a whole different beast and way, way more fun. Now this video is kind of like a 2-in-1. Yes, the Ronin S so far is my favorite gadget, but it's also going to pair with my maybe second favorite gadget, the Sony a7 III, which for the money I think is honestly the best camera of 2018 so far. Next, I'm going to hop over to S&Q mode. 120 frames per second is 1080, but it's really sharp. I'm going to show you the difference there. Now, with this trigger, too, if you want to swing it into low mode, hold it, swing it down, and then let it go if you want to do the parallax. And again, now, I'm going to flip this screen out just a little bit, which you got some beefy calves. Or if you just want to go for a pusher, money. Woo, it's hot, man. It's like 100 degrees and it's humid out here.
What kind of camera you have?
A7 III?
Because I have the A65.
Okay.
I'm about to shoot right now.
Okay.
Is there a big difference?
The biggest difference is you're getting full frame with that.
Thank you. Last question. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Which one do you recommend, the R3 or that one?
If you're doing video, just save the money and get the 3. The biggest difference with the R is the megapixel count, but actually for video, the A7 III is technically sharper because it shoots like a 6K sensor and then downsamples it into 4K. So the biggest difference with the R is you're getting more megapixels, which is for photos, but for video, yeah, just save the money and put that in the lenses.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, just if you search TLD, it'll come up T, Tom, Larry, David. No, you're good. TLD, Tom, Larry, David. So if you follow me on Twitter, I haven't had the greatest luck with bigger gimbals. I actually smashed myself into a rock recently. Now I'm going to kind of walk down the stairs and see how that rolls. How you doing, Rich? So yeah, I've had so much fun with the Ronin S. The price for what it does is amazing. I think my only complaint is that it's nearly impossible to buy right now because everybody wants one. It is technically a B&H exclusive, so if you pre-order one, I think the wait time is about 1 to 2 months. So hopefully they get on top of that because I think anybody who shoots with a DSLR or a mirrorless camera needs one.
Number 1, for kids. With the move toward family-friendly programming a decade ago, WWE has taken different avenues to broaden their appeal towards the youth of the world. Whether it was the short-lived WWE Kids magazine or the unconventional and absurd Saturday Morning Slam. The latter attempted to fuse Warner Brothers-esque cartoon wrestling with semi-educational bumper segments in between the intentionally asinine matches. Some of that formula would be co-opted for NXT Kids, a concept developed in 2015, presumably for the WWE Network slate. On it, Corey Graves joined 2 children in providing offbeat commentary for a pair of matches. The pilot for the show leaked out to the discriminating interwebs, and it wasn't exactly a gold star moment. The project picked up steam once more in early 2016 with further filming reported, but since then there hasn't been much on the NXT Kids front. So that's our list. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and you can follow me on Twitter here. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon at patreon.com/Cultaholic, and most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.
Sometimes mistakes in the WWE are unavoidable. That being said, sometimes it seems like they are almost deliberately shooting themselves in the foot. Once you've established who the fans do and don't like, it makes sense to book your product accordingly. I mean, that's pretty simple, right? Right? Apparently, f***ing not. Otherwise, I wouldn't be bothering with this list. I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture, and these are 10 mistakes WWE are still paying for. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done. Number 10, CM Punk's ill-timed dismissal. WWE have always denied that they intentionally fired him on the morning of his nuptials, claiming that it was merely an unfortunate coincidence. Punk now appears to be consumed by bitterness, potentially killing any hope we might have of seeing him return at some point in the future. Unless he has a dramatic change of heart, they could wind up paying for this mistake for the next decade or more. Oh well, at least Vince learned his lesson and wasn't so petty after that. Oh. Number 9, Bobby Roode's low-key introduction. This time last year, Bobby Roode was one of the biggest stars on NXT, and I was a fresh-faced newcomer to What Culture. Look at us now. Jesus. He arrived on SmackDown in a totally low-key way, aside from that robe, spending weeks competing opposite jobbers before he finally got a run at the US title. Compare this to the way in which fellow NXT recruits Kevin Owens and Finn Balor were introduced to the main roster, and there is a massive difference. It's little wonder that fans have lost interest in him. They've given us absolutely no reason to care. I'm begging you, WWE, turn him heel. Number 8, burying Finn. WWE had their reasons for burying Finn Balor back in October. Namely, they needed Kane to be strong for a mega feud opposite Braun Strowman, which lasted just a couple of weeks before climaxing on Raw. Right, number 1, that lasted long. And number 2, did it really have to be Finn, or could it literally have been anyone else? The long-term effect on Balor's career has been pretty catastrophic. There is every chance that he could force his way back into the main event in the future, but he's probably been set back a good year by the decision to make him a sacrificial lamb for a mayoral candidate who likely won't wrestle again. You're welcome, Knox County. Number 7, Batista's return run. Another man with an axe to grind with the WWE hierarchy is Batista, who departed the company under similarly frustrating circumstances following a disappointing return 4 years ago. Batista, or Bootista, or Blue-tista, whatever you want to call him, was booked horribly. It's not like WWE don't have practice in how people react when superstars come back from Hollywood. The consequence of all this is, well, does this look like a man who wants to negotiate? If and when he walks through the WWE door again, he wants to do things on his own terms, and if they don't agree to them, he'll likely just pull the plug altogether. Number 6, burying Bayley. Burying Finn Balor was pretty egregious, but at least it serves some wider purpose. Bayley's humiliation last year, on the other hand, seemed to be for absolutely nothing. Alexa Bliss, her conqueror, was already running the Monday Night Raw Women's Division, and me, that this is your live segment. Wow. Granted, Bayley is still plenty popular among the audience, but there's been a definite climb down from where she stood this time last year. She deserves a bloody hug the way WWE have treated her. Number 5, Neville in the Cruiserweight division. It's been more than 6 months since Neville walked out on WWE amid alleged creative frustrations. Wonder what they might have been. The man that gravity forgot has 1 or 2 trust issues. Don't we all? Which is perhaps understandable given that he spent the latter part of his time with the company competing in the dead-end Cruiserweight division despite being one of their most gifted stars. Virtually anyone in the same position would have thrown their toys out of the pram, and WWE could end up losing Neville altogether. But we'll still have Kalisto, guys! Number 4, Cena over Rusev. The Bulgarian Brute debuted on the main roster in early 2014, going on to enjoy a year-long undefeated streak in which he was rightly pushed in the grand tradition of unstoppable monster heels like Yokozuna and Umaga. And then, not only did Big Match John get the better of him in their climactic encounter at WrestleMania 31, remember that tank? He went on to pick up consecutive victories at Extreme Rules and payback. Tell you what, make sure you give that shovel back to Hunter when you finish, John. Suddenly, Rusev was no longer being spoken about in terms of being a future main event star. Instead, he started doing things like having a brief love affair with Summer Rae, that went well, and form a forgettable League of Nations stable with Sheamus and my best friend, Wade Barrett. And it's all Cena's fault. No Rusev Day cake for you. Number 3, Cena over Bray. Cena burying Rusev was bad, but not nearly as bad as the time he buried Bray Wyatt, a man who looked set to break out as one of WWE's biggest main roster stars before running into Big Match John 4 years ago. It wasn't a total death knell for the Eater of Worlds career, admittedly. He went on to enjoy another headline feud against The Undertaker the following year and sealed his maiden WWE Championship in 2017 with victory at Elimination Chamber. Let's not mention WrestleMania 8. But the perception of him as one of the industry's perennial bridesmaids is now proving difficult to shake. He does everything right in the build-up, but consistently comes up short on the night itself, just like Jules on Tinder. Number 2, Jason Jordan is Kurt Angle's son. Seriously though, what the were they thinking here? His sudden main event push feels forced and undeserved. And without getting myself in trouble, who looks more alike here? It's impossible to see how the storyline will end without seriously harming Jordan's long-term career prospect. He's either going to come out of it a Roman Reigns-style babyface, i.e. one who the fans absolutely hate, or a heel with virtually no credibility. Nice work, guys. Number 1, Roman's booking. You probably don't need me to explain this if you have, I don't know, eyes or ears. But anyway, in truth, Roman's dreadful booking is an ongoing mistake. He may not have taken the title at WrestleMania, but the mere fact he was given yet another headline bout proves WWE haven't quite learned their lesson yet. People leave pay-per-views early when he wrestles, for Christ's sake. You wonder whether things might have turned out differently had the initial approach that followed his split from the Shield 4 years ago been more slow and steady as opposed to straight to the fucking moon. 2 of the biggest mistakes here were having him win the 2015 Royal Rumble, and then the following year setting him up in a hackneyed, triumphant babyface versus the world scenario when he came up against Triple H and the Authority. People actually cheered for Triple H and the Authority. The intent here was to generate organic fan support, but it had the opposite effect. People feared that he was being groomed for the same role John Cena had occupied a decade earlier, and it led to a backlash that is almost impossible for him to overcome.
Why would you look at that? You got all the way to the end of the video and you want to say it amount to nothing. What are the chances? While you're here, why not watch one of our other many, possibly quite good channels, or watch another video which will be largely the same vein as the quality content you've just endured. Go on then.
They can do it.